They'll go for the Disruptor pick, so they take it off the side of CDEC, who did do a pretty decent job of it. Because we saw Victoria making a lot of work happen with those static storms and the kinetic fields, of course. The Glimpse is just super useful. I mean, you've already got a Mirana clock. The Glimpse is just going to be so darn useful this game. Of course, Clockwork hooks in, you can always just glimpse him straight out, or just glimpse him back as well if he is on the retreat, and the same goes for the Mirana. With that gyrocopter opening, it looks like Newbee, at the very least, are going to have some late game potential with these two heroes. Nevertheless, though, it is still the first two picks. We'll get to see what else is coming out and what the game plans are for either side. Newbee have used over half their reserve time. Look to make this fifth ban, but they are going to think about it a little bit more. There's a lot on the line for them. They lose this game, they are just completely out, and CDEC will make it through to the finals up against IG. They certainly want to try and force this to a game number 3 if they can. But for now, at the very least, they are going to continue thinking about this fifth ban. There's only really cause to ban out here. CDEC theoretically already have their supports. Thing is, though, you may not want to run that Mirana as a position 5. Usually speaking, you see the Mirana in the position 4. So maybe a core Clockwork.
It could be. It could be the core Mirana, I mean, which is also less common, but we have seen it a couple of times. With a Shadow Demon, I reckon it's going to be that core Clock. It could really still go either way. I mean, a Mirana Shadow Demon dual lane with a Mirana core is actually quite potent. So CDEC's already setting themselves up quite well. Straightforward combination, disruption to arrow is always strong. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly Newbee tend to play around that, as that lane is going to be under immense pressure. They do pick up the Ember Spirit, exploiting one weakness in this draft. They don't have the best lockdown in the world coming out from CDEC, even with his Lifestealer pickup, which can eat through the Ember, doesn't care for his magic damage early on, but it's still a bit of a concern for CDEC. They don't have the best lockdown to keep Ember Spirit in place. They're going to have to land that Disruption Arrow every single time. The Clockwork, of course, doesn't keep that Ember in place as well. The Lifestealer pick for CDEC is pretty good, especially since you have that Clockwork already. You have a natural vehicle to jump into. Newbee's draft is looking much more solid, though. The Beastmaster coming out does ensure they have lockdown against the Lifestealer, even if he jumps into someone under Rage. So you can keep that hero in check, and it's a good response from Newbee. Something has to come out here for CDEC to tie their draft together. It just feels like Newbee has gotten a bit more in terms of exploiting the weaknesses that CDEC has.
Well, they certainly do seem to have that. Beastmaster, I mean, not only is he going to have control over the Lifestealer no matter what with that Roar, but he's just a real headache to deal with in the lane. So it's not going to be an easy Lifestealer game at all for the CDEC side. Newbee looking pretty darn good. Unless CDEC turns it around with this last pick, I mean, they could go for something that we just weren't expecting. Of course, yesterday we saw a lot of strange picks. The Brood was coming out, the Huskers were coming out, and Newbee, oh my, they go for the IO pick. And, well, that's what we haven't seen too in a while, the Gyro IO coming out. It's hasn't really been as popular as of late. It's not really the combination to go to anymore. Newbee, though, they still believe in it.
We've seen this at least once, although that might have been in Southeast Asia. I believe it was in Southeast Asia. We saw the Gyro IO. Now, for Newbee, I guess they could pull it off a bit better. I'm still not that confident. CDEC now, we were talking about lockdown issues. CDEC does get that Storm. You do have some decent ways of keeping him in place, but you're going to have to commit either the Roar or the Static Storm to lock that Storm down. It's a great vehicle for the Lifestealer as well. You can really eat through that IO now. It's really a toss-up now, in my opinion, as to whose draft is stronger. It's going to be interesting to see this play out. We haven't seen a couple of these heroes in a while. CDEC's draft is definitely a bit stranger, with a core Clock, with a Storm Spirit down mid. These are just heroes we do not see all too often. Newbee is a bit more straightforward. They have the IO Jar combination. They have the Beastmaster to keep either the Lifestealer or the Storm in place. And they have AQ's Ember Spirit, which should be able to get in and out without as much trouble as you'd expect, unless he gets that Disruption Arrow combination, onto him. So it's going to be a very, very explosive game with how the draft went out here. It should be exciting to watch.
It should be. Seems like CDEC is going to be relying a lot on getting a very, very good start early on, and that is very hard against this draft from Newbee. That's one thing we know for sure, is these lanes are going to be rough for this Radiant side. A lot of work there for James to try and set up as many kills as he can in this laning stage and try to turn these lanes around. But I honestly can't see one lane that they just outright win. Like the mid lane, arguably XM should have a slight advantage very early on. But as the levels go up, Ember is just going to really abuse XM on that Storm. The top lane, Lifestealer versus Beastmaster. The Lifestealer doesn't really usually win out up against the Beastmaster. And as well as that, 1-2-3 on the Clockwork. Pretty much a sitting duck up against the Gyrocopter of Fonte. You don't really want to go for the cogs and the Gyro because he's just going to rocket barrage you down. But I suppose we'll see how it all pans out for CDEC and how it pans out for Newbee, as this is game number 2 of the best of 3 finals for the lower bracket. As well as that, we'll see how well this IO Gyro combination goes together.
It's still quite potent. Like we've seen it once since the changes. Again, at that one game, it didn't look too impressive, but this is Newbee. These guys have always played around at IO Gyro at some point or another, so I'm sure they're very familiar with the limits of the heroes, with the limits of the duo, and how far they can push that envelope. It's still going to be a bit of a rough task, I think. I'm not going to be too surprised if Fonte does have to sit back for a bit and farm up, because you tend to really want to build up with this combination. Although, with the Ember Spirit, with AQ, if he's going to be active on the map really early on, it's very easy to back him up. With the Arjar, just kind of relocate in, apply some pressure, find a couple of kills, go back to farming. That's going to be the one thing here. Whether or not they maximize that early relocate is the big question in my mind. A lot of teams we have seen actually opt to take it a bit slower. They don't really play around the cooldown as much. We'll see if Newbee does opt to take that slower approach or a much more aggressive playstyle.
They are getting set up for these bot banner runes, though. CDEC, they aren't going to fight over these. Eve, he'll just be in the bot lane, making sure he's alright. CDEC will do the same up at the top lane, though. They'll be able to find these 2 bounties. And this has been very, very standard over these Chinese qualifiers. They do not fight too much over these bounty runes. They'll just get a very, very even start with each other. And 1-2-3 actually was heading towards that bot lane on the clock, but looks like he will go back up top now. We'll have the help of James. The one thing with this clock, I was talking about how it doesn't do very well up against the Gyrocopter, due to the fact that you just don't want to cogs a Gyro or even be near him with the battery assault. But the thing is, with James there, with the arrow, it does allow the setup. Because if you get the cogs, you have an easy arrow setup, and that way you won't have the threat of that second rocket barrage coming in.
Yeah, definitely. If you can land that combination, it's still a really hard lane to ride through. I'd say level 3 is when you start getting into a rhythm with this dual lane. Before that, it's just going to be very straightforward for Fonte to apply the harass. Same with YZ. Should be easy enough for him to counteract whatever sort of right-click exchanges do come out here.
I already see a bit of a struggle down to the bot lane. Eve copying a lot of harassment on that Lifestealer from Faith on the Disruptor. Wizard, of course, abusing those balls very early on. And Victoria's going to be trying his best to abuse his Shadow Poison on that Shadow Demon. It's just not going to be that easy of a game for it. His Faith will not allow it to happen over and over again. He's being rather aggressive on the Disruptor as well. I mean, the real challenge for Eve here is to see how much farm he can get up against Wizard. At least for now, he is remaining even, which is definitely a positive. But I imagine once you get to that level 3 mark on Wizard and you have the level 2 boar available, I don't know how long Eve can sustain. I mean, he's already ran out of a lot of regen. As they do jump on Victoria, he does get disruption off. Wizard is just going to surround though, and that is going to be a very easy first blood for Faith.
Yeah, it's a good start for Newbee here in the bot lane. They are slowing down Eve just a bit. Victoria on that Shadow Demon you know, he's not going to be too unhappy. He was out of mana anyway. So he comes in kind of refreshed, ready to spam out his spells once again.
So we have a look over that mid lane as well. AQ and XM basically just trading farm 10 and 10. Just exactly even between these two. Not much harassment being dealt. They both have plenty of regen still available. XM more so than AQ for now. Just not risking anything. I'd say XM's probably got more to be afraid about until he hits level 6. Especially if AQ does go for the early levels in chains, but even that Flame Guard can be extremely painful. So he won't risk it, he just keeps securing that farm with the Storm. It looks like he'll just try and be a powerhouse throughout that mid game instead.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to go about it. Both of these heroes really need that snowball start, and neither one wants to really play on the back foot, so it's just conservative play until maybe a support rotation comes out. That's the one thing that James has to do, although top lane, Fonte, copying a lot of damage.
He's falling quite low. 1-2-3 is actually continuing the chase with his battery assault. Fonte does go down, and now YG, he was trying to help this gyro out. He gets cogsed up. James was not expecting that one, and YG will try to tether. He is almost dead, however. He will survive with 60 HP. It'll allow him to salve up, but that's going to be a salve that you don't have available to help the gyro out later on.
Yeah, it's a massive resource commitment from Newbee. I'm surprised they didn't just accept Wacy to suicide to a tower, suicide to a neutral, come back in lane fully charged up, maybe ferrying some additional regen for Fonte as well, but Fonte in a rough spot again.
Well, 1-2-3, he continues to go for these cogs right around his own creep wave, so he's not allowing Fonte to actually get this rocket barrage off fully. And with that, Fonte may actually just be dead. 1-2-3, he needs one more hit, and he does find it. And now YG, he gets cogsed up as well. He will try to at least find the trade on the clock. He will not be in range, and 1-2-3 will hide in the trees. And that's just fantastic play from 1-2-3. He's just always getting the cogs off next to his creep wave, and that'll mean the rocket barrage is split every single time.
Yeah, while that's happening, they do find a kill on XM down mid. It is from the rotation of Faith. That's really what decides that mid lane, but that top lane is going way too well for CDEC. You're seeing a lot of a slowdown on Fonte. He has to walk back up top. He's going to be missing out on a key amount of farm, and that's not a good start for this gyrocopter.
Yeah, although he can catch up quite fast, it is definitely not the start he would have hoped for, as he has 2 deaths now on that gyro as well. Well, they won't even be able to secure those top bounty runes. James, he'll be in perfect position. He'll go for it himself. That'll mean that CDEC do manage to find a 3-for-1 trade on those bounties at the 5-minute mark. And I mean, we talked about their lanes being rough, but if you find all these bounties and you keep finding these kills, it may not be as rough as we expected. As Eve is pretty darn low on the lifestealer, but he's remaining up top. He's fine. He hasn't got much regen, so he does have to be very careful, but he is still farming up.
Yeah, you haven't really slowed down this lifestealer as much as your gyrocopter has been slowed down, although with how even they are, I'm not going to be too worried about Fonte. He can flash farm much faster than the lifestealer can.
Ooh, disruption gonna be there. Eve pops the rage very early on. Still goes. Actually, Wizard came in, and that's gonna be trouble for him as he does go down, and now Faith, he's just been left alone, and he's gone as well. Nice rotation there from James to help just in case. I'm so shocked to see Newbee losing out these lanes like this.
It's definitely not what you expect coming out from the draft phase. I mean, you take a look at CDEC, you look at their supports, they don't have the best chain lockdown. It's a Shadow Demon Mirana, but they aren't even playing around that Disruption Arrow. They're just finding everything off the map so far. Eve is going to be very happy with that exchange. Just going to be farming up quite fine. That rotation does relieve some pressure from Fonte, so Newbee does get a little bit in return from this exchange.
On the brighter side of things for Newbee, at least AQ is free farming the mid. Saw XM, he just went back to the jungle. He wasn't bothered with trying to contest. He'll come back now. It's still a bit of a scary kind of lane, although I say scary. XM is actually 1 full level ahead of AQ somehow. AQ will hit the level 7 mark very, very soon. But I would have assumed that AQ would have been ahead in levels just based on the fact that XM died earlier on. Apparently it's not the case. as Wizard bot lane. Getting it slowed down. Arrow connects once again on Faith from James. He jumps straight in. Wizard so down low and does die, but now the rotation from AQ. He wants to try and punish. He gets disrupted. He may find Victoria, but that may be all he finds. They even send in the IO. This is not the kill they came for, but they'll have to accept it as is.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate they only find a support kill, committing their mid-rotation for that. But CDEC is getting a bit too much in this bot lane.
Fonte? James? Interesting arrow to be thrown out. 1, 2, 3. He's in trouble. Should go down to the rocket barrage and does. It looks like he tried to go on the gyro by himself as James wasn't there. Now though, XM zips in, goes straight after Fonte, though he gets glimpsed back, and that's going to be a problem. It's Faith, quick thinking, does get him out. He may lose his own life, but he's going to be just satisfied with the fact that he did manage to save his position 1.
Yeah, definitely. It's the same situation for both sides, mid-rotation just finding that support kill, but Fonte's sticking around.
Well, he just salved up. He'll throw the cooldown out, but he's got no mana left. Still, he has help in the form of AQ. Chains will come out. Now YG is here as well. They will find a nice pick off in XM. He does not want to be here right now. He ran out of mana for his TP. And they will find 2 massive pickoffs on the side of Newbee. And suddenly Fonte with that double. I mean, after that rough laning stage, he doesn't seem to be struggling anymore, John. He's top of the net worth board.
Yeah, he's doing quite well for himself. It's down to all these nice rotations coming out from Newbee, and also the fact he can flash harm, although they catch Wacy.
Yeah, nice. It was a nice hookshot from 1, 2, 3, though. Tether, Rocket does not connect, and now AQ just cleans up James. Bit of an interesting lead there from James.
That's really surprising, seeing James actually go for that lead. It cost him a lot. The roar comes out onto XM, but Wizard still dies.
Yeah, he got the Remnant off just before, as he was zipping in, and now they are going to jump straight onto Faith. The Infest bomb straight away. Do not wait for that. Just get it out as soon as possible, and that's exactly what CDEC do. And they'll make it a 10-7. Slight net worth lead by about 1k to the side of the Radiant. But this is the kind of game we came for, John. Aggression, a lot of action around the map. This is the playstyles we love seeing.
Definitely is, and it's good to see CDEC really picking up that pace. I like that they have all these aggressive plays coming out. XM is really making this Storm Spirit work. We don't tend to see early rotations from the Storm this effective, but it has been paying off in a massive way, and this should allow XM to build up momentum towards that mid-game.
Stupendous.
AQ looking to make a play on that Ember. He has a Haste Rune in his bottle right now. Almost got the Veil up, but with that Haste Rune, you can easily find kills in this Ember Spirit. Just about to hit level 10 as well. So he'll head up to that top lane. 1, 2, 3 does seem like a very easy pickoff for him. Especially once you've got a gyro there, and AQ runs straight in, gets the chains off. And well, it doesn't even need to pop the Haste Rune yet. 1, 2, 3, still being chased. Moonlight Shadow does come out, but it's all too late as they do get the kill on the clock, and they'll find the glimpse onto James, who will find out the hard way he cannot leap out of a kinetic field.
Yeah, it's a good rotation from Newbee. It does pay off in the end. They might be able to apply some really good pressure on this tier 1 as well. They have the siege creep up. Should be some nice damage coming out on this objective.
Not quite. Newbee, they might just go into the jungle and farm up on Fonte a bit. That is exactly what they do. They just secure that safe farm. No need to force the T1 in quite yet. While all that's been happening though, you look at Eve down at the bot lane. He hasn't been farming quite as well, but he does have the Midas up now. You can expect that farm to escalate quite quickly. Does seem Eve is going to be going into that Radiance build as well.
Yeah, I can't blame him in this game. He has some really good vehicles in the clock and the Storm. You are going to get a lot of value from that Radiance in this game. So if he can hit that timing right before 20 minutes, he is going to be very hard to deal with.
Especially while you've got that natural carrier in the Storm. Can just get him into that perfect position every single time.
The rune of haste.
As I say that, Bell of Discord going to be up on AQ now. You've got the Vladimirs up on Wizard. So Newbee may suddenly be ready to continue fighting as 3 or 4. They'll start that bot T1 push. The same will happen up at the top lane. Not going to be quite as fast as the bot lane push, which Wizard is doing with his boars, but it'll get there eventually. Fonte also has his drums up, so it looks like they are going to try and force in a T1 push. CDEC, I don't think they'll be ready to try and fight this or defend.
Yeah, they're in no position to force these team fights out just yet. This is when Newbee is pretty darn strong. You don't have everything online on CDEC's side yet, so they're going to have to just bleed these objectives out and take a loss for a while.
Well, they are starting to rotate in, so perhaps they are going to try and slow it down. Moonlight Shadow, although Static Storm straight on the clock. And without that initiation from the Clockwork, that is definitely a T1 gone. Great plays once again from Newbee. They're just in the perfect position. They do not waste any time in taking that clock and taking the tower.
I'm surprised to see 123 actually just standing there. No respect to the vision that the Beastmaster does give. The Hawk just spots him out, and suddenly he's just kind of sitting duck, waiting to be killed off.
But now Newbee, they just rotate down bot. You still have a Beastmaster, you still have multiple boars. Why the hell not? Force in the tier 2 while you can and just gain map control. Gyro is one of those heroes that loves having map control as well. He could just farm up those jungles so darn quick and deny so much farm to the way of CDEC. As I say that though, there is a hook coming out. They found Faith. He does get the kinetic field off, and now XM. He zips in straight on that Beastmaster. Eve will take him out. AQ, he just wants to Remnant out of there, but they got the purge off. He's so darn slow right now. He'll Remnant forward, but it doesn't look great for AQ. He'll throw another Remnant out, and that was his, well, it was his last one as he got another. Still, CDEC will force them back after that bot tier 2 push. They will find 2 heroes as punishment towards Newbee. So a decent defense attempt considering their draft is not really made for that.
Yeah, they're still finding some big pickoffs here. A bit of a shame for Newbee to lose Wizard immediately. That's a key part of their control. When they lose that Beastmaster straight up, they can't really hold anyone down. Especially since the Disruptor died very quick. He did manage to get that Static Storm off. It wasn't quite enough. Wait, actually no, he only got the field off. It wasn't quite enough, so you really have to be able to get the jump on these guys. You have to be always aware where XM is, because he's going to be making a lot of these plays happen.
He zips in, tries to go after that bot bounty room, but it was already taken by the side of Newbee. Looks like Wizard on that Beastmaster is going for that blink, and we'll have it up very, very soon. So you will have the Blink Roar initiation onto XM wherever necessary. It's going to be very important this game on that Beastmaster. XM, of course, does have the Kaya and is already going for that BKB. I mean, he's going to need it up against the Static Storm, but the problem is it will not block out the Roar.
Yeah, he's still going to need a Lincoln sub for that Roar. And you do have ways of playing around that as Newbee, although...
They smoke up. But CDEC seem to be aware of this. They back out straight away. With that, they'll just continue the farm. Have faith in the Lifestealer is the idea here from the Radiant side. Problem is, though, Fonte is still farming like an absolute beast. Almost 8k net worth now on the Gyrocopter, and he's almost got that full BKB charge up. Just needs the recipe. And once that BKB's up, I mean, they're just going to go fight again. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, it's going to be much harder to take out this Gyrocopter. A lot of your damage is riding on Magic right now, on XM. You're not seeing the full effect of the Lifestealer yet. He is inching towards that Sacred Relic, though. He's just about 500 gold away from that item, and then it's just a recipe for the Radiance, and that's going to be big. Although, hook.
Bot lane, yeah, they got the hook off. Glimpse back on the clock, but Wizard is already dead. Nice pick off with the Moonlight Shadow. Wizard does get punished for trying to push in that tier 2 a bit more. Can they find anything else? Not quite. Faith is far enough. XM wasn't around the area to zip in on that Disruptor. So that'll be a 13-10, 1k net worth lead remaining now for CDEC. It has pretty much been that way for quite a while. And in terms of farm, I mean, you look at those top 2 cores, they are still on the side of Newbee.
Yeah, they're still finding a lot to work with on the map. It's not quite as dominant as you'd want from Newbee, especially with that gyrocopter. You'd want a bit more of a gold advantage on that hero. CDEC has been on point with their own farming patterns and their own pressure on the map. So it is a fairly even game so far. The BKBs coming out should make the difference here. Fonte just finishes it up. But whether or not they force the fight is a different question. It looks like they are just kind of happy to farm along. It does just make it safer in those lanes, so you can go for that creep wave now.
You see the smoke from Newbee. Straight through mid, they'll see James on the Mirana. They get the glimpse off as well. Nice vision there from the Dire side. James will use himself up, but can he leap out? Not quite. The Static Storm is there. Raw being committed as well. Now they might try to punish. So Victoria does go for the Purge on AQ. But it won't lead to anything. They'll leave it be at that. It was actually quite a bit of committal to try and kill off that Mirana.
It definitely was. You're not going to be too unhappy as CDEC with that. You force some big spells. They waste the smoke as well on a support. And you can just kind of farm along now as CDEC, knowing that a rotation's not going to be happening anytime soon. You have some space for yourself. Just work towards getting that Radiance on Eve. And he is quite close. He's about 350 away from the recipe. Once that's up, expect to see the aggression coming out. Expect to see that Infest bomb once again.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under
Fonte
attack.
not quite pushing anything yet with this BKB that he's picked up. He wants to go after the Maelstrom. Which is fair enough, you do still need some decent damage output. Though with this time bought, Eve now has a Radiance up. That's going to be very concerning. While you do have a BKB charge on the Gyro, the rest of your team is going to suffer through that Radiance. I'm not sure how Newbee deals with this. I mean, they've got another BKB coming on AQ.
Under attack.
They do still seem to have a lot of confidence in their late game. They will just continue to farm up.
Scanning. Dire are scanning.
James now, Moonlight Shadow. They want to fight over those 20-minute boundaries, and Eve just goes straight for the Raw as the Sentry's been dropped. Faith with some great game sense, understanding that the Mirana probably was invis at that rune spot. They do secure another kill for this Dire side.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, they did have to expend a Roar, but it's not as big of a committal as the Static Storm is. That should allow them to finally try to chip away at this tier 1 up top. And without the Mirana, it's going to be a hard ask for CDEC to get the defense on, although they are in position.
They certainly are. 5 seconds for James to be back up. They aren't actually going to go for that defense attempt. They may try for a deny in the tier 1. And it looks like the side of Newbee will just allow them to clear out the creep wave. They won't actually try to push the issue here. No risks being taken by Newbee. They'll back off, back to farm. CDEC, they will at least remain with that tier 1.
Yeah, they're playing really safe, just trying to work themselves up to a bigger network advantage. They understand they can get that done very fast with Fonte's Gyro. So why not just widen that gap, play it safe. You have the Gyrocopter, you're confident in your late game. There's no need to rush.
Well, they got the Maelstrom up, they smoke up. Still, Fonte doesn't really bring it out. He just goes back to farming in the mid lane. There is another smoke from CDEC though. They do have the Infest bomb ready. They get the Roar up on the Mirana, but the hook shot right into the back on Faith. They get rid of the Disruptor. Mirana still available. In fact, he jumps out of there. Now they found another in the form of Wizard and AQ. He's been slowed down again with that Purge. Fonte though, he joins the team fight. They'll find 1-2-3 with the chains, but the disruption is going to save for now. And 1-2-3, what does he do? He has Cogs up. YG going to be the target. Go after that IO. Get rid of him, and now the Gyros are sitting duck without BKB. They take care of him as well. AQ the arrow. He barely avoids it. He'll remnant straight through. But But it'll be a 4-for-1 trade. They do force the buyback out of the Shadow Demon.
Dire's bottom tower
But CDEC, that is a massive win for them.
It definitely is. They managed to force out the BKB uses on their cores as well. You're going to be very happy with that trade as CDEC. Rather unfortunate for Newbee. It looked like it could change things around when they walked up there. But the disruption on the clock, saving enough time for 1-2 to just stay alive there,
is under attack.
gave them so much more when the BKBs did eventually wear out. I mean, it was 10 seconds. It didn't feel like that was enough.
$5K net worth lead now remaining for CDEC. That graph has really only been swinging their way this whole game. We'll have another Moonlight Shadow come out, but won't lead to anything. In fact, I'm not sure why they pop it. Ward's being placed either. Looks like it may have just been a preemptive. They may have thought that Newbee was on the smoke. Newbee, however, sticking as 4, farming up that jungle with Fonte. Just soaking in that XP. Looks like they might even just wait for Fonte to have the Aghanim Scepter up on the gyro before they go again. They're not going to lose the next team fight for sure if they do go in. I mean, it was just extenuating circumstances. Just waiting out that Fonte BKB and taking out YG.
There is a smoke on CDEC now, though.
Yeah. CDEC, they're feeling confident. No Moonlight Shadow to really get in there easily, but they're going to walk their way in. 1, 2, 3. He'll scout out. Straight hook. They want that disruptor. Faith going to be in trouble, and he'll get taken out straight away. And now YG straight from XM going on to the Wisp, and it looks like YG cannot sustain. Eve, though, falling low. He will die on the Lifestealer. Now that Shadow Demon will be targeted. 1, 2, 3. He'll be the next one up, and he is definitely going down. And so Newbee with a great turnaround. And it was all after Eve just ended up dying on that Lifestealer to the rocket barrages coming out from Fonte.
Radiant's bottom
And with
tower
that,
is under attack.
the bot tier 2 does go down, and suddenly Newbee looked like the stronger team.
It's all down to how long you can leave your Lifestealer alive. If he doesn't get the long life there, it's just kind of wonky. He didn't manage to get his Infest on as well. Perhaps a bit too early in that jump in from 1, 2, 3. If they did have Eve inside of XM, that fight could have turned out a bit differently. The damage might have been enough, and his positioning might have been a bit better, but in the end, that is the fight they did take. Newbee does manage to find a lot more there. They get a nice objective on top of that, giving them so much more to work with. That does give Fonte a bit more gold towards his Ags. He's just about 1k off, and once that item's up, it's going to be much harder to burst him down. He's going to have a lot more HP, a lot more damage coming out, and he's going to be a bigger and bigger target as this game goes on. He's just going to be farming up. Once he has some lifesteal of his own, I think that's going to be the real deciding point. The Flak Cannon just healing him up in the middle of these fights, you can't quite burst him down anymore.
So AQ as well. After that team fight, he's got his Maelstrom up now. Newbee looking a hell of a lot scarier. Like Wizard. Gonna have the Solar Crest up soon on the Beastmaster as well. That's gonna open up the Roshan attempt. They could go for it now if they really wanted to. They'll wait out the Solar Crest first. Meanwhile, Eve trying to go after that Sergeant Yasha. He wants to be able to just run around those team fights extremely fast and not be kited around too much by this gyro. He'll have that up pretty soon. The Sanj is the only thing he requires. Needs about 200 more gold. But I wonder if that's going to be enough. I mean, Fonte, he has the Aghanim Scepter now up on the gyrocopter. Going straight into that Satanic next. It looks like CDEC do believe it may be enough with the Sergeant Yash, as they do smoke up. In fact, they don't even have it yet. They're going a bit prematurely without that item.
Okay, I think they just feel like they're really strong right now, which to be fair, they are. They just need to get that good initiation once again.
Hook's available, 1, 2, 3. He sees Faith, Moonlight Shadow, but now they know Newbee. Static Storm immediately coming out on that clock. Disruption will save for now, but the cooldown's there. Fonte has BKB'd up. Meanwhile, YG does go down thanks to Eve, but you've lost your clockwork. Can you win this team fight? Wizard, he goes down as well after expending that raw AQ. Still man fighting. He takes down the demon, but now Eve is on the chase. Meanwhile, Fonte trying to get rid of XM on the storm. He will successfully do so, but he gets arrowed up, and Eve will just take him out. And the only man to get out of there on the side of Newbee is going to be the Ember Spirit being played by AQ. To be fair though, it was a very, very even team fight, a 3-for-4 trade. And it was just that really rough start for CDEC as well though, like they didn't really get the hookshot off they wanted. The Static Storm committal was there from Faith just before that whole team fight began.
Yeah, it's down to how they get these initiations. That one's a bit wonky. They still managed to trade nicely. It's just not quite enough when you lose your Storm. Not the best result for CDEC. Really good counter fight coming out from Newbee. I'd say the one thing that Fate is doing that is kind of costing them these counter kills is that when he sees the clock, he immediately drops that Static Storm, but he doesn't catch out Victoria. Now Victoria just gets the disruption off. Suddenly that spell doesn't do as much as you'd want it to, buys enough time for 1, 2, 3 to walk out once the Static Storm wears off, and the Kinetic Field, and suddenly your Gyrocopter is just isolated, because he's cogged up, he's trying to man-fight a Clockwork crew, managed to use all his spells, he's not going to be displeased with just isolating one core.
Another hook shot could be out very soon. 1, 2, 3. Scouting out with the rocket. Knows exactly where Newbee are. Newbee may not be expecting another team fight this early on, but the zip is there from XM straight on to that Ember, and they get the arrow off. That's going to be really bad though. AQ, he managed to survive. They relocate him out. YG with the heals, and now it looks really bad for the side of CDEC. Eve going down. 1, 2, 3 will also go down, and it was all just YG. Getting the tether, getting the bottle, getting the mech. And you saw that Ember Spirit's HP going up so darn quick. And with that, the Roshan straight away afterwards. That's a massive win for this Dire side.
Definitely is. That's a huge, costly mistake for CDEC. They're going to lose to Roshan as well. That just makes it much harder to take these fights. It looked like they could have gotten the isolation they wanted, but they didn't expect the full force of Newbee hanging around that mid lane as well. It does cost them. And they're going to have to buy some time now to recover here.
Fonte straight towards that tier 2 mid. I don't believe they'll go any further quite yet, as they do need to reset their HP and mana. Boundaries are up anyway, and yeah, they'll back off. But still, they gain the net worth lead now by 2k their way. Suddenly CDEC going to be on the back foot.
You know, it's something to note as well. You take a look at Eve. He actually went for the Manta style over the Sanj and Yasha. I like that item a bit more. He needs a way to get out of those chains in case he gets caught out. So that does give him a way of slipping right through. Does need a bit more though. He's not as tanky as you'd expect. Once this AC is up and running, it's going to be much harder for Fonte to go on a 1v1 versus him.
Yeah, that's what it seems like he is lacking, just that added armor. The right clicks from Fonte are just really dishing out a hell of a lot of damage. Now Newbee. Yes, what am I looking at?
You look at his talents as well. He went for the evasion talent on top of his gradient, so he's going to be dodging a lot of the physical hits from that gyro. And you look at Fonte, he didn't actually go for the MKB. So that is going to be a massive factor in these fights, because he can just stand there in the middle, miss a lot of damage, and Eve is just going to be alive, although...
Yeah, they found the Raw. He does have the Rage up, but now a relocate, and nobody's around to help Eve out. I mean, you don't really need an MKB if you just find him alone like that. And Newbee going to be very, very happy with that pick. That's just going to slow down the farm so much more of this Lifestealer, who's currently about 4k behind the Gyro.
It's down to the good wards Newbee has as well. We saw this in Game 1. They really have great vision on the map, just spotting out where the farm is happening, and they abuse that. They have the relocate, they have the Ember Spirit, really easy to find those ganks, and CDEC has to be very aware. They have to respect the vision game here. Not only are the wards great, but you have a Beastmaster with Hawks, and that is really just costing them their initiation.
They'll go in. Tier 3 tower, going to be the objective for Fonte on the gyro. Going to be a very easy tier 3 at that. There's just no defense coming out yet. There is some zip in and outs from the Storm. That'll be it. They don't want to risk anything else. Satanic is up though. They do still have the Aegis, so it kind of feels like they could try to push the issue. But there is about 10 seconds till that lifestealer does respawn. So perhaps they wait for another day.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is a sense of urgency now for CDEC, but they can't really force the issue. They are playing from a bit of a deficit. It does feel like your lifestealer isn't quite up to par, especially up against that Gyrocopter who has really farmed up. Fonte's just had a free run, been maximizing his flash farming capabilities, working that network advantage quite well. He is queuing up the Butterfly next. Again, just really ignoring the lifestealer almost in this case. Whether or not that will pay off in the end, we'll see. If they give a bit too much space to CDEC, suddenly you won't have a response for all the evasion that they have built up on Eve.
That's very true, but it doesn't seem like they're really concerned at all. It's a matter of catching Eve out by himself, and he may not have buyback gold next time around. Newbee, they are going to start pushing top lane again, and I like this from Newbee. You've got the Aegis, got the Satanic, no need to play passively, get some work done while you can. And this is not going to be the greatest team fight attempt from CDEC, I don't believe. In fact, they may not even try. The odds are very against them. They'll go for the disruption, but that Rax is almost gone. AQ will show up now and get some chains off, and well, they are going to move forward. Straight onto the Shadow Demon, blow him up, but in the back, they are trying onto that Beastmaster. Static Storm will be there. They get the roar off on the Lifestealer though. They've lost faith as well on the Disruptor, but who cares? Well, in fact, maybe they do care. It's going to be too much now as the buyback's coming out from the Shadow Demon, and Eve is going to start chasing down, trying to find somebody. Newbee. Immediate TP out from Fonte. He will get out successfully, and YG will also do so. I'd say that's still a massive win for Newbee. I mean, they lost 2 heroes, but they got the racks.
Yeah, it's a big win for Newbee. They are not going to be upset by those 2 losses. They still keep their Aegis as well on Fonte, so he can just go back in, force a fight when he wants. Gonna have to expend that Aegis fairly soon. The timer should be up in maybe about, right now. So the Aegis is gone. That's actually perfect timing for Newbee. That they get out there before it expires. They're going to be very happy with that entire trade. CDEC still finding something is somewhat of a concern. You are still building up on the heroes. I mean, you have a Bloodstone up on XM, which has dropped, but you can slowly build back up. You take a look at Eve, inching closer towards that AC. Has the plate mail up. Not going to be as easy to burst him down. One thing as well is that the detection game from Newbee isn't as good. They don't really have dust, so even when Eve jumped the back line, got caught out, the roar was thrown out before the Beastmaster died, the Moonlight Shadow was up and they couldn't find Eve.
Problematic. CDEC find a tier 2 top tower. They go for the Infest smoke, so they are going to try and make another play happen.
Bottom shrine is under attack.
I don't know about this though. I mean, every ultimate is available on Newbee, and they've just looked so darn good. The one positive that CDEC do have is they know the position of Newbee. Rocket Flare will also scout them out once again. But they just can't really catch up, so they'll just leave it be. CDEC just going to be forced to continue farming up. They won't mind this too much. They've almost got that Assault Cuirass up on Eve now. See if he bothers trying to save up for buyback gold, but I doubt he will. Fonte, he almost has the full butterfly up. Once you've got the butterfly up, you've got so many more issues in terms of dealing with Fonte on that gyros. Don't have any MKBs on the side of CDEC either.
Boom, there it goes.
At the very least, Solar Crest from James is definitely going to help.
Eve does finish up the AC, so he is bypassing his buyback roll. This is something Newbee could really abuse in a bad team fight.
It's all up to Newbee, and we'll see if they are willing to press the issue. course, they're not going to be aware that he doesn't have buyback, but they may find out very soon if they get into this team fight. And Butterfly will be completely up, and it looks like they are ready to go. The Remnant straight in. They got the roar off on the Mirana James. They just want to burst him down ASAP, but he does get the Yules off. Static Storm, though, will hold him in. Now they can chase for even more as they do find Eve on that Lifestealer. He rages. He wants to fight this. There'll be a buyback from James on that Mirana, and the Vortex is there on AQ. They burst down the Ember. Fonte is still there, though. And he is a pretty menacing Gyrocopter as James buys back. 123 has been trapped up in his own cogs. Newbee, I mean, you lost the Ember, you buy back on him, and he wasn't even there for that next engagement that kind of happened, but it just didn't matter. Sponte literally does not flinch as the Storm zips up to him. Glimpse back. Disruption. Will save the Shadow Demon. XM now. Still trying to find a target. YG is that target, but they just grieves off the silence. Fonte understands there's not really much of a chance of them killing him right now. They're going to try. Vortex will be there. Eve will jump in, but he's really missing every single time. Just gets no damage off. That's going to be the mid-racks, and now they found James. This could be a dieback if they have the silence. They may not even need it as James is falling very low in the Remnants. They won't be enough. Oh. AQ, he falls a bit low, but they found the roar off on the Lifestealer, and Eve can't do anything about it. He's surrounded. He goes down. No buyback on him. XM, he's out of mana. He's been chained up as well. He'll buy back. But Newbee, they are still in the driver's seat as the zip-in is there. But they are still very healthy. There will be no form of punishment towards this Dire's side as they take a secondary racks and they back off.
Yeah, that's going to be the easy Roche going the way of Newbee as well. Roshan number 2 with Cheese. And that just will basically secure the last set of racks for this push. And there's no buyback on Eve. If he dies again, I don't think he's still going to have buyback for him. So, you have
Zippin' XM!
Whoa! Whoa!
XM with the Aegis steal. And what a steal it was. He just gets in there, takes it. He got the cheese as well, John. How did he get both?
I don't know. His timing was just perfect. Just going in there, grabbing those 2 objectives. That is going to slow down Newbee. They're not going to be able to take that last fight for the last set of racks as confidently as they'd want. You'd have to deal with the 2 lives of XM. He's still out of buyback, but they could delay the game long enough where you're within range of buyback, perhaps. At the very least, you're denying them any sort of progression for the next 5 minutes, unless Newbee suddenly gets really confident. They are still going to be losing out on the shrines, and the map control is still pretty dire for the side of CDEC. It's not looking that good. They still have some time to try to farm up. It's a 9k deficit at 40 minutes in, 27 to 27, really even on the kill board, but the map advantage is certainly in Newbee's way.
Yeah, 9k net worth lead. The win probability is 78% Newbee's way. They are at about that 41-minute mark now. Newbee just holding the Radiant side jungle. James will split push with the Mirana. This is pretty standard. They may have to relocate and take this man out, but he does leap around. Makes it very confusing as to where to go, and it looks like James will be out of there anyway. The lane isn't really that pushed in, so I don't think it'll concern Newbee that much. I don't see a reason why they need to back. They can just continue moving forward.
Yeah, although there is an infest on XM. I wonder if they're going to be going for anything aggressive or just preemptively doing this.
They're fighting into an Aegis. They found Wizard on the Beastmaster and now the hook. Static Storm is there though, and the Beastmaster ends up surviving for now. Meanwhile, 123 has lost his life and they are going to chase after Eve. AQ, can he get a chains off? He doesn't have it available. With that, XM still trying to slow this down the best he can. It's just YG on this IO every single time, saving them every time they get jumped. He's been doing so much work for the side of Newbee. And Newbee, they will get very lucky and fight a double damage now for Fonte, and that is going to be an immediate turnaround once again.
Oh yeah, that is really scary to fight into. Not sure if they're going to find anyone, although they should know where they are. CDEC is going to be working their way on that mid lane, trying to find some farm up. They are trying to stall the game to get a couple of items onto Eve. It looks like he switched back to that Linken's. He just wants to avoid the immediate roar. And if he can find that item in a good time, that might be enough to at least turn 1 or 2 team fights their way.
Maybe so. Look at Eve. Doing the same thing. And we'll have it up pretty darn soon. Whether it makes a difference or not is another question, though. I mean, you still have a lot of problems with this gyrocopter. Fonte, with that butterfly, is essentially still kind of invincible, as nobody can really hit him. They are going to smoke up. It really seems to be more an XM to control that gyro up, but he's also got to try and get that IO, who's the real issue in these team fights. And as I say that, an Aeon Disc is now available on Wizard, so you don't really want to jump him on the Beastmaster. So CDEC,
Dire are scanning.
a loop around, but Newbee runs the exact opposite way. XM does go up, pops his own BKB because he got chained. Now that was not what he wanted. He wanted that Arcane Rune pretty darn bad. He did get it. I don't know if I'd say it's worth the BKB charge. But if they don't push in, I mean, it's already at 5 seconds anyway. So it's not too big of a deal. I mean, it's going to give him unlimited mana pretty much for that next engagement. Thing is, though, he's lost his Aegis now. Newbee appear to have timed this very, very well. And they are going to start heading down towards that bot lane, perhaps for that final push attempt.
Yeah, you still don't have buyback on XM as well, so there's a 2-minute window of vulnerability where the buyback's still on cooldown. He's not going to be able to get back into this fight if he's eliminated. No Linken Sphere available as well, so you can easily lock him down with Wizard's Roar, and that's going to cost CDEC a lot in the defense if they lose XM very fast.
Newbee start to make their way in. XM trying to be a thorn in their sides, but Fonte does not care. He'll just go straight. He cops an arrow. They are going to try and take advantage though. Fonte, he pops a Satanic and suddenly they deal no damage. It's a very early Satanic being used up. Newbee wait out their creep wave once again. XM's going to be infuriating with that storm. And even the Midas from Eve are going to be coming in handy in this case. Fonte again going to move in, gets disrupted. XM straight onto YG. Get rid of that IO, but he has a Ghost Scepter. He'll be fine. Fonte falling low though. YG is going to send him out. Not quite. As AQ now going to jump in on the Ember and will jump immediately out. And so CDEC will manage to hold the bot lane at least for now. XM.
It's actually...
Yeah.
It's actually super surprising. You watch Fonte, you watch him in the man fights against Lifestealer. He's not hitting. He keeps missing his hits on Eve, or they're not doing enough damage because it doesn't look like Eve drops at all in those exchanges. So it's actually fairly even, and it's a bit on edge. Both sides really trying to find an advantage to work in this fight, but neither side is seceding any sort of ground.
Fonte gonna move in again. Pops the arrow. Eve going on Fonte, but there's a Satanic still in the back. The Vortex, they do find Faith on the Disruptor. Now YG, he'll still be okay. Fonte trying to back off. That Spirit Vessel is ticking him down quite a bit, but the arrow, James finds it, but there's the relocate once again from YG. And although your IO is now almost guaranteed to die, or maybe not, maybe they'll just turn it and keep him alive. But YG, you can't stand at the front like that. He's going to end up going down. Ghost Scepter will not help this time around. Fonte, meanwhile, needs to get out. His BKB wears off. Eve is not giving up the chase, though. And Fonte, do you pop your Satanic and fight? Yeah, you definitely do. The Lifestealer, he just melts to it. 1, 2, 3 as well. It was a bait all along by the Gyro. And AQ, he'll TP, he'll reset, and Remnant back.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Eve forced to buy back on the Lifestealer. Tier 3 does finally drop. Eve gonna try again. Still such a hard target. YG, a lot of damage, but has the Ghost Scepter again, but no, he drops, it doesn't matter. Remnants forward, 1, 2, 3 with a great cogs. They find Fonte. They want Wizard. He's been BKB'd up, he'll be fine. AQ though does go down on the Ember. And they manage to hold, and it all just seems to be XM. He's doing all the work for his team right now.
Oh man, that was an all-in fight from CDEC that does manage to pay off. If they lost their Lifestealer there, if Eve did die, he wouldn't have buyback. In the end, that Gambit does pay off. They find 2 massive kills going their way. They hold on to their bots at racks. It's still an uphill battle for them. 10k deficit, 32 to 30 at 49 minutes in. And they don't have any Rosh to take as well. Although it should be up now. There you go. So they might be able to take this Rosh at very least. If they can get that Aegis, they buy themselves a lot more time once more.
Even better as well, they found another Arcane rune for XM. He loves these runes. You know what, with this Roshan, I wouldn't blame CDEC for just trying to run down mid. I mean, you've got the Arcane, you've got an Aegis Cheese and Refresher Shard available. You're already 2 racks down anyway, and these defenses aren't getting any easier. So CDEC, they have an opening. Who do you give that Refresher Shard to? It'll be going to James, and yeah, they'll run it directly down mid. No time to waste for these guys. That Gyro, just, we have a look at that quick net worth graph, and Gyrocopter is so far ahead. He's 12k ahead of the Lifestealer. But the tier 3s are under siege. Glimpse, Eve, he'll just rage it through. They don't want to have to buy back on AQ like this. So tier 3 gone, CDEC, do you back? They'll keep going. Don't know. The rocket flying out will be enough from Fonte to force CDEC back. At the very least, they open up the shrines for themselves. The thing is, though, giving Newbee time again. I mean, all these lanes are pushing in. That top lane, you may have to go back pretty darn soon. And Newbee, they smoke up. That was right underneath the Radiant Ward, though. So they're very well aware of this smoke. Hook will just be to retreat. They just want to get out of there safely.
They do get the Lincolns up onto Eve, so it's going to be much harder to pin down the Lifestealer.
Oh, Raw. They do grab the Shadow Demon straight away, but he's still alright. Meanwhile, XM, again, straight on the Disruptor, but they get him out of there. It's YG saving him with the relocate, but he jumps straight back in. Faith, he goes down. XM controlling everyone up. He goes after YG on the IO. He's falling low. He barely survives for now, but not quite, as he does go down after the relocate. And now, well, they try to go on 1, 2, 3. He eats the cheese. There's the pop from Eve. He does want to move forward. He still has the Aegis, and now the hookshot from 1, 2, 3, holding Faith back. This will be a dieback on the Disruptor if he does go down, and he should, but it looks like XM does find Fonte. Now moves forward, trying to go after AQ. He won't get the Ember, but they've got the dieback on the Disruptor. An ultra kill for XM once again on the Storm. And somehow, John, they're pushing it back.
They definitely are. It's off the back of these team fights. The fact that they can't find the burst on the heroes they want. They jump the disrupt. They jump the Shadow Demon, and he doesn't die. You know, they put a lot of their resources down there. They don't take out that support. He causes havoc in the middle of that team fight. They're going to lose another tier 3. The waves are pushing in down mid and top, though. They're going to have to push really fast here.
Certainly do. They've got to get 2 Raxes, or at least 1 in this case. Still got the option for 2 though, as that mid Rax is already exposed. At least even this game out if you are CDEC. They'll take 1 straight through to the mid. Got to be careful once YG's up, because that's when Newbee will probably be ready to go. But for now, Eve feeling confident. Get chained up. You'll mantra it off. Is it going to be enough? He still has the Aegis. He may go for a 3rd right here, right now, and get the Megas instead of going back. And yeah, that's what he's planning to do. If you get the Megas, suddenly those waves pushing in aren't going to be as scary. Force that fight and backside the Vice straight on the gyro, but it's not going to be enough. Lotus Orb was there, and the relocate was very early from YG. He had to prep it. CDEC, they won't risk anything. It looks like they're happy with those 2 Raxes, and they'll get out of there.
Yeah, they definitely should be. They turn this game on its head, suddenly looking really good. Sure, their base is pretty exposed. They've evened out the barracks loss. They've gotten control back in the map. They still have the Aegis up. And it suddenly feels like CDEC's game. You take a look at win probability, Mike. It shoots all the way back. 68% the way of the Radiant. They're going to be very pleased with that result. I really want to point out, I think a lot of this boils down to Fonte going for the Butterfly instead of the MKB. In these team fights, you aren't actually killing Eve by physical damage. His right clicks are not eating through this Lifestealer, and he has a major gold advantage. Surely you'd expect the Gyrocopter to melt him at that point. It's not happening because he keeps missing. He's going for the Divine next, which means you need to hit much less to get your damage off. I'm still a bit worried. I feel like this kind of greedy build, without counteracting the massive tankiness on Eve because of his talents, he has his +2 rage duration. So he has 8 seconds of spell immunity, and he has a massive amount to dodge damage by physicals. The Aegis does expire, so CDEC, maybe they're not going to be pushing that envelope until the Roche is back up. But they are still playing pretty far forward now.
Oh, Arrow? They got Fonte. He will not. He'll be fine. I mean, I thought for a second with an arrow that far from, you may have gone for it. XM on the Storm John, just catching up in terms of net worth with the gyro now, is going for an Aghanim Scepter. So essentially, you're going to have like a mini black hole going on from XM. And he's going to enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be terrifying once that Ags is up in the Storm. They're going to have all the control in the world from CDEC's side. You follow that up with a good cogs from the Clockwork, perhaps, and suddenly everyone's just trapped.
Newbee won't leave their base, but there will be a Moonlight Shadow coming out from CDEC. Eve does reveal that Moonlight Shadow, though, up at the top lane. No Aegis this time around for Eve. He didn't need it last time, so we'll see how well he does this. Zip in. No Stop Device yet. He actually does go straight onto the Disruptive Fate. Blow him up. The Ghost Scepter's there, but XM... he just doesn't care, John. Look at Fonte. How did he lose so much HP?
I mean, he didn't pop his BKB, so he copped a lot of magic damage just from everything else coming out.
They get the T3 tower. Arrow, it connects on the Ember. Nobody's there to capitalize, though. CDEC, again, just going to take their time. It's going to be a massive comeback if they can find it. They zip it. They found the side device straight on that Ember. Take AQ out of this game, though. No, he BKBs up. Meanwhile, Eve will go straight after that last barracks with the Rage. He'll wait out the Rage cooldown once again. He's got the Refresher Shard up, so he's actually going to have 16 seconds of Rage if he wishes to. And I believe that is the game plan. Eve jumps in, another side. They've caught out AQ on the Ember. Silence him up. He's falling low, not quite low enough as the Megas are there, but now the hookshot 1, 2, 3 going after YG. He won't find him in the cogs. Meanwhile, Eve is falling very, very low, but gets the infest on James, and James, he'll leap the hell away. Now you've got the Megas up. CDEC, they can sit back and enjoy. Newbee.
Oh.
How does this happen, John? We're 57 minutes in. They had 2 Raxes up.
Mike.
Yes.
You take a look at Fonte. Divine Rapier is up.
Yeah, it's there.
Wait, but what's the point of this item if you're not hitting? Did you see how many times he missed on Eve? Every time Eve was right-clicking, you'd expect the gyro to do a lot more at this point. He kept missing.
It's a good question, John. Perhaps every time he does hit, it'll be more influential with the Divine. But if he never hits, that might be a problem. But we'll find out. We'll see how useful this Divine's going to be. Rocket goes into Scout. 1, 2, 3 already ready to hook in whenever necessary.
Roche is going to be up in 10 seconds as well. Perhaps CDEC just waits for that massive objective.
Well, now you've got the Aghanims as well on XM. He just
boy.
upgrades it straight away to the Blessing. Arrow. Oh, it's going to connect on 2. That would have been perfect. And yeah, XM, he says thank you very much. Straight onto YG. Find that one. In fact, it was Faith. YG will be next. They got the Moonlight off already. Tether's been cancelled. YG's still surviving, but not for long. He's gone. Now the Gyro trying to find Eve. He does no damage yet. XM, where are you going? He's going after the backlines. Trying to find Wizard on that Beastmaster. The Roar will be there on the Mirana, though. At least find James. But XM now, the BKBs have worn off. He goes after the Ember AQ. The Vortex once again. The Gyro's falling. There's the hook from 1, 2, 3. The Divine gonna be on the deck. Eve will take it for himself. AQ still trying to fight. He remnants back. He goes down. The GG's been called. And what a comeback coming up from CDEC in game number 2.
Oh, man. It just looks so rough. They lost their racks just like that. They were getting sieged on bot. The fact that Newbee never managed to secure those megas and the plays coming out from CDEC to turn that one around was just massive. Well played to them. What a game to watch. It should be an exciting grand finals. Unfortunately for Newbee, this is as far as they get in the close qualifiers for the Summit 11. They will get themselves 20 DPC points for participating, but that's it. That's the end of their journey here. CDEC, they get to move on.
I mean, look, they played well, Newbee. Of course, there is going to be the next qualifiers, and I'm sure they'll put on a great performance as they did, but CDEC were just the better team today, or at least for this series. Nevertheless, they have IG waiting for them in the grand final, so we're going to see how that all pans out very, very soon. There should be a short break, but after that break, we'll be back for the best of 5 grand finals between IG and CDEC. See you guys very, very soon.